detected.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to our second live developer Q&A here at Blizzard Entertainment. My name is Kevin, and we are excited to be back with you. Happy New Year, because it is January, and last time we were with you was December. So we are excited for great content for you today. One of the main pieces of feedback from our last show that we had from you, our community, was that you wanted to see more of the game. So I'm happy to tell you that we are going to be providing that for you today, including a live gameplay session with none other than Sean Day9 Plot, who is here with us in the studios. People, he's right there.
Hi.
You might even be able to hear his unmiked voice in the background.
I'll be on soon.
Yeah, he'll be on soon. So before I do that, a couple more housekeeping things, and I'm going to introduce our other fine guests that are here with us today. One, if you would like to have an impact on the battleground choice that we'll be playing in the live gameplay session later in the show, there will be a URL probably in the Twitch chat. You can click on and get your vote, get your voice heard. We want to hear what you think. Also, if you would like to submit questions for the Q&A part of the show, you can do that on Twitter using the hashtag HeroesQA. We're going to be taking your questions soon. But before we do that, let me introduce our guests. To my left, Mr. Ka'eo Milker, senior producer on Heroes of the Storm.
Hi, Kevin. Excellent pronunciation.
Welcome.
It's beautiful.
Ka'eo is Hawaiian, so his name is Ka'eo. Some people call him Ko. That's wrong. Don't do that. Welcome, Ka'eo. It's good to have you. Actually, I just said it wrong. Welcome, Ka'eo. Sorry, it's hard. It's hard to do. And to his left, Mr. Dustin Browder, game designer, Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft 2. Welcome back. You came back.
I did.
I'm impressed. Well, thanks for being here. All right, well, let's dive in. We have questions for you. Ka'eo, I know the community hasn't heard from you maybe as much as someone like Dustin. I know your face and voice were in one of our intro videos. We got to see you for the first time, but give us a little bit of background. What's your background here at Blizzard, and you know, your role on the game in particular? You know, how are we working here?
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate enough to have been here for 12 years, a little over 12 years at Blizzard now. Started out, like a lot of people in our development teams have, in quality assurance, testing Warcraft 3 originally.
Ah, cool.
Did a stint in tech support, did a stint testing World of Warcraft in the early days. Also was the recruiter for Blizzard for a long time, building the WoW team, the cinematics team. Eventually, I transitioned into production. And I've been doing that for a little over 9 years now at Blizzard, almost exclusively on Team 1, which is the Heroes of the Storm team, and previously the StarCraft.
Now, a fun fact that I found out about Ka'eo is that he was the voice of the Tinker in Warcraft 3.
This is true. Thankfully, I didn't quit my day job after that.
Do you have a little bit of Tinker in you for us today?
Yeah, it takes 220, 221.
See, there you go. This is real entertainment, folks. Come back. We're going to do a third one of these. This is only the second. We're getting good. Well, cool, Ka'eo. So tell me a little bit more about production and your role as senior producer. Those of you out there, I just got to give him some props. This guy has a very difficult job. This game is hard, and you have a hard job. Can you explain a little bit about what being a senior producer on a game like Heroes is all about?
Sure. I like to look at it as a fun job that's really challenging. But,
sure.
You know, there's a lot of moving parts with the game like Heroes of the Storm. My job primarily is to try to coordinate across all of our vast teams, both on Team 1, things like the designers, the artists, the programmers, our live team, our business teams. There are external teams that we work with extensively to get a game like this made. So I'm trying to kind of coordinate all the pieces, set some like overarching goals for our team, milestones for when we want to deliver things, and then help everyone prioritize the features and tasks that go into making all that stuff a reality.
Yeah, it's such a complex machine, and I think with a company like Blizzard that doesn't just make games in English, we make games in multiple languages, in multiple regions, it becomes infinitely more complicated.
It is definitely a global undertaking, but I am by no means doing this alone. So there are a lot of very talented people across the world that are working on this game.
That's true. That's very true. It is a complex project with a lot of really talented folks working on it. So, and Dustin, tell us a little bit about Heroes when it comes to production for a company like Blizzard that is different, or I would say even challenging. This game, I mean, I can imagine that this game has a lot of nuances for a company like Blizzard that, you know, we haven't really experienced before as a free-to-play game. You know, a game that's sort of stepping into a space where people are expecting content at a regular pace.
It's not that different from what the WoW team does.
That's true.
You know, it's different for us on Team One. We don't have, we're used to, making the box product games, like StarCraft. We've been making those for 15, 20 years, I think, on this team. And so we're very used to those style of games for us. But the WoW team, for many years, the World of Warcraft team, has been doing constant patches, constant new zones, and constant expansion packs as well. But this is a little different in the sense that it wants to be a lot quicker and a lot more often with smaller pieces, but still try to maintain the same types of quality that we want to have for a Blizzard game. So it's certainly going to be challenging for us, especially on Team One, to sort of learn the techniques that the WoW team has done and then apply those to our game, what we're trying to create. Obviously they have maps and we have battlegrounds, right? They have zones and we have battlegrounds, and they might have changes to their classes, and we have something similar. And they do new monsters and new raid bosses, and then we have new heroes maybe as a similar thing. But we want to try to hit this at a very fast rate, so we're constantly providing new content for the community, new stuff to do, new ways to play the game. And as a designer, I think, as anybody on the development team, it's very exciting for us to get a chance to work on a game where, if we've got something that we want to do, we might be able to see that live in days, weeks, or a month. That could come out really, if we had a great idea for a new hero, that could happen pretty soon, as opposed to, the box product model where, well, that's a great idea, you'll see it in, 2016, right, or whatever it is, right? And so I think we get really geeked up about the idea that this stuff could really just happen if it's good enough, right? And we can polish it up in time. It can happen immediately. And so I think that's sort of the challenge for us, is getting used to that idea and then really embracing it. Certainly for us, I think it's been really exciting, really enjoyable.
Yeah, how do you take a complex machine like a game development team who sees this challenge ahead of them, and they're aware that it's different than what they're used to, but how do you get them to a point where they feel comfortable stepping into that space? I mean, what do you do at a practical level to gear up for that?
Yeah, it's a gradual process. So we've been, over many, many months here, trying to transition our team from thinking and working like a team that delivers games every couple of years and expansions intermittently, to a team that's going to be delivering constant content, constantly be updating this game, adding new features and content for people to enjoy to it. So I think it's really about practice and just that transition of, hey, this is a different way of doing it, but it's actually really fun and really gratifying, because instead of having to wait months or years for our content to get in the game, there's this kind of instant gratification of, here, enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, the KO's been really fighting this battle a lot, and the practice, I think, is right on. I remember there was a moment a couple of 6 months ago, I think it was, where we were about to go out with some kind of internal build. I don't remember exactly what build it was, and I was like, I need another week. I need another week to get this thing polished up. And KO was like, no, we're going. The train is leaving the station. We're like, no, I need another week. And he's like, there'll be another train along in a minute. And I was like, oh, I see. There will be another train along in a minute. Because you're making box product, there's no other train, right? There's a patch, but that's not the same as I want to add a new mission to the game, right? Which is something we traditionally don't patch in. So the idea that you've missed the train was so distressing. I was ready just to go to Holy War to get on, to delay that train so I could get on board. And then he pointed out, no, there's another one coming right after that one. Just sit down, finish doing what you're doing, and in 2 weeks from now, that week you needed, you'll have had it, and then you can put this in. And so building in that way, and him sort of enforcing those rules, right, and helping us practice this idea, I think has been hugely valuable to us as a team. At least it has been for me, right, and sort of understanding what we're trying to accomplish and how this wants to relate to this game with this community in this kind of environment.
Awesome, good job, I like it. So with a company like Blizzard and a game like Heroes, a game that covers all of this company's franchises, their top franchises, what is your relationship like with those other development teams? Do you have constant communication going on with them? Do you talk about the heroes that you're envisioning or planning within their franchise? What is that relationship like? Are there do's and don'ts? Are they like, hey, not this hero?
We should really talk to them, shouldn't we? That'd be a good idea.
Surely you talk.
We talk to them some. I think they trust us a lot with the heroes in this game. A lot of these heroes came out of Warcraft 3 before they moved into World of Warcraft. So I think there's a great sense of collaboration across the studio when it comes to these characters and these personalities and these locations. So they trust us quite a bit with these characters. A lot of these characters were invented, by a lot of the artists and writers and designers in this team in the first place. But for certainly, there's a bunch of stuff that we're doing that's new. So if we're working on, a hero, if we're working on a Crusader hero, for example, if we were to start that up, we would obviously be, if if we worked on a Crusader here, we would go to the Team 3 guys, and show us what you're doing at the Crusader. What do you think the essence of the Crusader is? What's the most important part of the Crusader to you guys that you think? Because we're not going to do all, however many powers and runes the Crusader has. We're going to do something a little bit smaller than that for the PvP experience. And so we got to distill the core elements of what matches the Crusader. And then obviously when they play these things too, because we can turn these things around pretty quickly. So when they play the Barbarian, they'll send us notes like, hey, I think the Barbarian, you're missing the boat here on something you can do, and then we'll sometimes change it around. So it's pretty collaborative back and forth with these things. But I think a lot of the studio really does trust us, at least up until now. We'll see how it goes going forward. Yeah. They know that the game takes place in the Nexus. It's this kind of bizarre fantasy world that's not connected to our core fiction, not connected to our lore, and so they don't really worry that we're going to do something strange with the story for these characters because it's kind of out of universe. It's sort of out of bounds in its own space.
Very cool. So what are you guys working on right now? What is the focus and work sort of pointed towards?
So like milestone or release-wise, we're actually currently in the midst of what's been an ongoing internal alpha with the developers and employees of Blizzard. And they've been playing the game, giving us lots of great feedback. We've been refining our core gameplay experience, our metagame, trying to stand up all the pieces that we need to make this game work and trying to test them against the mirror that is Blizzard. And that's kind of a special thing to get reflected back at us, is having them check this game out early in preparation for when we feel like it's going to be ready to have the public start coming in and play it.
Now, when you say metagame, you're meaning all that stuff outside, like when you're actually playing the game, the stuff that happens in between.
Right.
Okay. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to talk a little bit more about that. I don't know when we're ready to talk about that. But
not quite yet. We still got a lot of feedback coming in from the studio. A lot of stuff's kind of a mess. So.
Cool. And how about you, Dustin? What is your focus?
There's a bunch of stuff that the team is working on. I mean, the art guys have been doing just ridiculously cool art. Yeah. They keep leveling up the art across the whole game. They did a pass the other day. I don't think it's going to be in this build, but they did a pass on the colors that was just amazing. It just affected the way the whole game looked and felt. And the skins they're doing for this game are ridiculous. You guys have seen a bunch of these at BlizzCon, but it keeps getting just more and more out there and more interesting, and they keep doing these crossover characters, and it's just, the stuff they're doing is absolutely amazing. On the design side, we're working really hard on the new user experience right now. We got a couple of guys really pounding away at that. We had some new user testing where we bring in people, they work in the company, but they've never played our game or any game in the genre. And we sit them down, and we say, hey, and we just watch, and we just, oh God, and we cry and weep as things go horribly wrong for us. But then they, if they get through it, we're like, oh, we won that part, right? And then we make changes. Then we bring back brand new people next week, and we say, okay, we made a bunch of fixes. You guys have never seen this game before. Go, and we see what happens. And so our first test was last week. It went pretty well, all things considered. We have a bunch of fixes to make, so we're working really hard on that. The other thing we're working hard on is hero design. So we've got these battlegrounds, and they're very cool, and they're really changing the way we're playing. We're changing up the battlegrounds a little bit here and there, making tuning fixes as we get to play with the company in our alpha. But one of the things we really want to get to is more heroes like Abathur. We had Abathur, which is this monster from Heart of the Swarm from the Zerg campaign. And we had this guy, and he's kind of a commander hero. He doesn't really fight, but he's all over the battlefield, helping his allies everywhere. And because we've chosen to do team leveling, because we've made a bunch of core choices about how this game functions, it gave us the creative freedom to create a character that doesn't ever fight personally, but he helps everyone else engage and destroy the opposition. So that was really cool, and we got a lot of props at BlizzCon. Everyone was like, whoa, Abathur, this is cool. And we looked at our surveys after, like, Abathur, and we're like, okay, that worked. What else? What else can we do? I don't think it's enough to say we got Battlegrounds and Abathur. Like, it's got to be more than that. So we're working really hard on trying to create more of these heroes that are kind of out of the box from what you're used to playing in this genre. Heroes that sort of play in fundamentally different ways and stretch your understanding of what this kind of game can really be. And so, like I said, Abathur was a big win, but we've got to do more. We've got to try to do better. And we're going to work really hard and just pray that we can have the right ideas and the right implementation come together to create heroes that really give you a new way to experience the genre.
That is awesome. I can't wait to hear about those heroes. Sounds very, very interesting. Okay, guys, well, we have gabbed enough. I think we're going to start turning to your questions on Twitter. If you're out there and you want to ask questions to these guys or myself, because, hey, I got answers for you, just ask. That's all you got to do. That's right, Sean. He's right there. That's day 9. Okay, so we're going to take your questions. If you'd like to submit your questions, #HeroesQA on Twitter. Let's do some now. Actually, before we turn to questions, can we show that straw poll real quick? Yeah, there we go. So if you would like to have an impact on what Battleground we play in the live gameplay session after we finish taking your questions, you can do that on the straw poll URL, which you will probably find in the Twitch chat. Just check out Twitch chat and vote. I think right now the running winner is Haunted Minds by a pretty significant margin. So if you want something other than that, please get on there and vote. Let us know what you think. Okay, let's take our questions here. I'm going to do my best with these Twitter names, people. StarCraft ESP asks, are you testing new maps with different PvE objectives than the current Battlegrounds?
No, but we're taking a little break from Battlegrounds right now. We've got enough Battlegrounds. We feel like we can go to a beta with these and see how these goes. You know, these Battlegrounds did well for us at BlizzCon, very well for us at BlizzCon. Everybody seemed pretty excited about the stuff that we were doing, and we've tested them further in the alpha. You know, Dragonshire was an example of a map we made a bunch of fixes to, right? And we're not quite ready to show it again because it's back in the pipe, getting cleaned up based on these fixes, which is why not in the poll. Yeah. But we feel like this is enough to go out to the world with, and most of our map guys are focused on new user experience right now. They're going to come off of that, and they're going to go back to maps. Cool. And we'll be developing more maps going forward. We're not also quite sure yet how many maps we need for the game to feel like you've got enough variation. Obviously, if we put out 37 maps, you might go, I don't even know what this game's about. Like, it's just insane. So there is an upper number as well that's just too big. And then there's a lower number that we feel like for our game is just too small. So right now we've got 4. We're going to try that, I think, initially and see how that goes. I can imagine that maybe 6 or 7 might be better, but it might not. And I don't know for sure. With StarCraft, we had so much experience coming from, you know, StarCraft and then Brood War and then in Warcraft 2, even before that. This team had so much experience on what felt right for a map count for the game to feel fresh and without feeling just chaotic and uncertain. In this case, these maps are so much more intense. We don't really have that experience. We don't really know in this case exactly. So we're guessing right now that the 4 we have are probably enough, at least as initial offering. Sure. And we need to focus more on heroes. We need to focus on this new user experience. And then in a couple of weeks to a month, I think when we're done with that new user experience, I think we'll start experimenting with more maps. Even then, I don't know if we'll add. We might just have more maps that we end up swapping out if, you know, we go out with a beta or an alpha and the community goes, your fixes of Dragonshire were garbage. This is still terrible. Like, okay, right? And then we can drop it and sub something new, or we might tack on.
But he doesn't talk like that, Dustin.
Well, sometimes they, you know, if it's bad, they could be
so
mean.
Nice.
Anyway,
love you guys.
But we'll see what happens. But right now we're not really focused on more Battlegrounds. It's a great question.
Cool, awesome. All right, let's take some more. This one at Brilliant CTR. How many specialist heroes is it feasible to have on your team?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. That's an interesting question.
Sure, I'm exactly the guy to know for sure. We don't usually run more than 1 or 2, right? And it depends on the 1 or 2. Like, you can run Abathur with maybe someone like Tinker on the team, I would say, and still be pretty effective. If you run, and sometimes you can run double siege. Like if you run Sergeant Hammer, our siege tank, you know, again with like Witch Doctor, that's probably okay. I think if you ran 3, you'd start to feel a little thin. You know, these guys, they don't have the firepower to really drop enemy heroes very rapidly, and they don't have the endurance to stand up in a big team fight. So I think you would start to run into trouble with 3, but it might depend on the 3, and we don't really know. Right?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing as we get deeper into alphas and betas what kind of combinations are viable, and we'll kind of watch that and see.
Yeah.
We haven't really tested some of the insanity, like what happens if you go all 5 specialists in siege and you all drive middle lane, the first, what happens, right? Like we haven't tried some of that wackier stuff yet, because we're just trying to see that the basic stuff kind of works. But I kind of want to try that today now. Maybe see what happens. But I think generally speaking, the answer to your question is about 1 to 2 is the most practical.
Cool, very good. All right, this one from Mike Metcalf. Can you explain the talent system in more detail? How many ways can each hero be played?
That's a really good question.
That is.
The reason KO's smiling is he knows that we're currently redoing the content for the 910th time on the talent system. So we're very happy with the structure. As you go up levels, you get access to tiers, and then there's things in those tiers that are meant to be played off against one another. So we can offer you 2 things that are affecting the same power. And if you double stack them, it would be so broken we couldn't allow it. But we can offer them as discrete choices, right? We can have this or that. Which version of Snipe for Nova do you prefer, right? And you can make those options. So that's felt really good to us. Currently, we have a lot of stats in the list of things you can choose. And one of the things we found is every time you, and this is so obvious, right? And everybody will be out there laughing at me about this, but every time you offer up something like stats, so plus 400 health, or something kind of clever that alters your core abilities, well, guess which one you're going to choose? Plus 400 health. Thank you very much. That's what I need in order to survive that team fight in 9 minutes. And there's a tribute spawn, and I need to live, right? So, a lot of the stat choices we were offering, while kind of altered the way you play, also were interfering with some of the more interesting choices. The other thing they did as well, in many cases, there was a right answer, right? There wasn't really like, you could play Demon Hunter as an ability power Demon Hunter, but attack damage was the right answer, right? And so we liked the idea that there were creative builds out there, but it wasn't really creating the flexible system we wanted, where you could, play the hero for is there going to be enough flexibility in the system that I can really get into a hero and I can play it one day for 5 or 6 games, then I can play it another way for 5 or 6 games, and then 10 games later I can discover a third way that's a combination of something else that I didn't even think of before and add it. The other thing I'll say too is we're probably going to come out when we go out into our beta, whenever that is, that with a limited set of talents so that we can really focus and test these, but the system is designed to add. The system is designed to grow. We can add as many of these as make sense for the game for as long as we want to. And the whole thing is set up, as everything is in this game, as we talked about earlier, is everything, all the systems are designed so we can keep adding to it without it feeling kind of janky and awful. Like we keep adding to it and it just keeps feeling more and more interesting as we go. So we'll probably start with a smaller set just to make it kind of clean so we can understand what we're doing. And then as we learn more and more about the game, you'll see us add more and more talents. But the system is definitely under construction. We're definitely working on it pretty hard right now. I mean, you can play it right now and it's totally playable, and you're going to see it played today, and it works. But we feel like the choices could be more intense.
Fair enough. Thanks. All right, let's do another one. This one from @HeyBluePore. How do you view the support role in Heroes with shared team experience? Will we be seeing more offensive support play? Can you spec these support roles offensively?
You can. You can. Tassadar is almost purely spec DPS these days. Like we've kind of joked, is he even support anymore? You can totally spec them a more an offense or a defensive role, and there's often different ways you can support as well. For example, Uther, I think it's Uther, has the ability where he can heal people based on attack damage, right? So he's hurting people, he's kind of healing his allies around him. So there's different ways you can spec these guys. So we will definitely have heroes, I think, that are more optimally played. Dude, just be the support. If you want to be a tag, okay, but you should be the support. And then we have heroes like a Tyrande as well, who's got some range, right? It's like, well, no, there's definitely an offensively oriented build here that you can take if that's what you feel like your team needs or what makes sense.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. Okay, what heroes do you like to play?
I've been playing across everything right now because I'm trying to get exposure to it all.
See, yeah, just
my kind of standard players or heroes that I'm playing a lot are Gazlo, the Tinker.
Right.
I play a lot of Kerrigan.
Dude, you own me up with Kerrigan.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this guy just crushes with Kerrigan. He's got this combo of abilities. It's just like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like to get variety in each of the roles and try different builds with them too right now.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's do this. @Hotscast, what's up, guys? Thanks for all your content. Very cool. Which are your favorite? Oh, look at that. We just did this. Which are your favorite heroes to play? Meant for the specific devs on the live Q&A, not team wide. So, I don't know if those. I asked you what you've been playing, but would you say those are your favorite? I'm assuming you.
Yeah, I kind of fall in love with one, and I'll play it really extensively. And then right now in our metagame, there are little carrots that make me want to try other heroes, so I'll switch over. And what I keep finding is that I fall in love with the next hero I go to, and then I stay with them for a while until the next time. So I'm actually really enjoying the diversity of them right now. I also want to be able to understand them all, especially with what I'm trying to do in the game. But I mean, right now I absolutely love Gazlo. Like he's just wicked on the map mechanics and stuff. He drops his turret. I love to just kind of set traps and get board control on large areas of the map using Gazlo, and I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
That's awesome. Very cool. What about you, Dustin?
I was playing a lot of Sonya the Barbarian and a lot of Nova, and now I've switched over to Sergeant Hammer quite a bit, the siege tank hero.
That's my jam.
And I kind of go back and forth between Sergeant Hammer, which is very technical hero. Like you really got to get your position just right and know what you're doing. And if I get sort of late in the night and I'm getting a little sleepy, I'll switch over to Raynor, who's a little bit more flexible. He's a little more forgiving in how he plays. He's sort of designed that way. We built him as a more forgiving hero. There's a lot of strategy still to him, but if I'm a little sloppier, if it's 11:30 at night and the kids are going to be up at 6, I'm like, okay, I can just play some Raynor.
Sure.
That works for me in that moment. So I've been enjoying sort of both of those characters I think right now. But yeah, Sergeant Hammer is sort of the go-to when I really want to get into it and really experience the game, because you really got to position just right to set up that siege mode and really know where you're sitting. And like the Tinker, you can set up some ferocious traps for people. Really set up a position, put out your mines, get yourself into the shrubs, set up a position, and just annihilate like a soft DPS character. A demon hunter comes running in, and they'll aerosol before they know what hit them. Right, so it's really fun.
What about you, Kevin? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. I like to play Sergeant Hammer as well, for the same reasons Dustin just mentioned. All right, let's do another one. This one from Squishy out there. What's up, dude? Watch your stream. So, how do stealth mechanics work? Are there both stealth and invisibility effects? Example, Zeratul and Nova.
Sure.
Is there a difference between those stealths?
Right now we're only using stealth, and the reason we're doing that is, again, for sort of clarity and simplicity, so when you see that somebody's stealth in the game, you understand how the rules work. And so how they work right now is, and this has been pretty successful for us for a long time, so I expect it will continue this way going forward. The stealth character can move around freely. There is a little shimmer on the character, so you can spot them. If you tag them with an ability, which usually requires an AoE or a skill shot, that will end the cloak, end the stealth effect, and then you're free to auto-attack and do whatever else you want to on them. If they shoot or do anything, they come out as well. So it's kind of like a Romulan bird of prey from the old Star Trek, right? If you do anything, you're out, right? And you can be seen. So it's really funny when we first put that in. I think everybody on the design staff, we were interested in it. We like the simplicity and clarity, but there was a lot of doubts, myself included. It's like, well, I'm going to see the shimmer, and this is dumb. Like, you're not really cloaked. Like, what does it matter? And the more we played, the more we found that you're not as good as you think you are. Like, even the best players in the team will miss a Zeratul, especially in a team fight or whatever. They'll be like, yeah, but, oh, right? Because there's so much going on. Sure, when you're alone in a lane, 1v1ing, right? I remember these cost no energy. There's no cost to being cloaked.
Yeah,
Nova's just cloaked. Zeratul is just cloaked, right? That's what he is. He's just stealth all the time. So there's got to be that trade-off. But in a team fight, any kind of confusing situation, we found even the best players will miss that cloaked character coming up behind them, and they'll suddenly just get a knife in the back or a bullet in the head, and they're just down. So it's been pretty cool for us. It's got some nice simple mechanics that make it really clean and fun to play.
Very cool. All right, guys, couple more questions here. Then we're going to get into our live gameplay session. Pound Heroes QA if you have more out there. This one from JK Kennedy TV. How extensive of a spectator mode could we look forward to?
So we've started with, there's a spectator mode you guys will see today. It's very early, obviously. It's rough. It's just kind of the beginnings of what we need to make it functional. It's something that we'll continue to build upon. It's, this game is built on the same technology that StarCraft 2 is built on. So there's a lot of flexibility actually with customizing that, both for us and ultimately for players to be able to customize themselves and make really cool, custom observer modes and things like that they'll be able to have on it.
I think that was one of the best success stories from Heart of the Swarm that I loved. One of the most, being, because I love watching esports, is having the fans be able to create, the players be able to create their own custom observer mode. Totally. They decide what's being shown, where they'll be shown. Everybody kind of did a different thing, and there seems to be some consensus kind of how it should be, but it's so nice. Like, they did such amazing work. These guys are the experts, right? These guys are the ones who have to broadcast this stuff constantly, and they know how they want it laid out for them, but they know how they think their players, how their viewers want to see it laid out. And so that was a huge success for us. I think we'll definitely be trying to do the same thing for Heroes, putting it out in a way where we'll have a default, and the default will work, and we'll do our best to make the default as good as we can make it. But I expect you'll probably see some pretty cool innovations coming out of the community when they get a hold of the Observer, replay editor. Really.
Definitely. Shout outs to Ryan and Gameheart, all of those awesome community folks doing great things with maps and observer modes. Okay, a couple more here. This one from @IamCarlair. I hope I got that right. Probably didn't. Got any news on the map editor? We kind of just mentioned it. Well, that wasn't really a map editor. We're talking about observer modes, but thoughts on
it's definitely something we want to do. Sure. It's for us. It's figuring out how it works in the free-to-play environment right now in StarCraft. Right, we've got a certain amount of space we've allocated to you on our servers. We've got the ability, if you do something just horrific inside the game, something highly questionable, we can ban the map. We can even ban you if we have to, or remove your rights to publish. In a free-to-play environment, we have none of that power, right? So you could be just uploading all sorts of hideous things onto our service. We have no way to protect ourselves or our community from that kind of behavior. So we need to work out the rules for that. It's not impossible. Yeah. We're going to work out these rules. We just need to figure out exactly what they are and how we want them to function. And then I think you'll see us moving forward with a map editor for this game.
That's awesome. Very cool. Can't wait to see what you guys make out there. This one from @HearthTrolden. Can we expect special interactions between different heroes? This is cool. Great question. Arthas, Illidan, Kerrigan, Raynor, and so on.
Definitely. There's actually the beginnings of this is in and working right now. You may actually hear some of this when you guys are observing today, but if like at the starting gate when the heroes align, if certain heroes, they all have this banter that they'll say back and forth, and it's very kind of IP specific, and Kerrigan and Raynor have some pretty interesting repartee there, and I think we want to build on that more. Like, also, when you kill certain heroes, there'll be really cool one-liners that they say that are really specific to the hero that they just killed. That's something that we love. That every time we experience it, we love it. it's something we want to keep building on and having really interesting interactions like that.
Totally. Blizzard, when we went out with the alpha with this stuff, we got, some people heard it, some people didn't, but the call was for more, and this kind of suggestion. So we totally agree. We're going to do as much of this as we possibly can. We'll probably keep adding to it for years as we get more and more ideas, because it's been just an absolutely fun part of the game to hear these characters kind of, kibitz one another, both before, during, after a death, before the game launches. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it kind of catches you off guard. Well, like definitely the first time you hear it, but even after you've heard it before, it's like, oh, that's hilarious. It's really funny. Okay, let's do maybe 2 more of these questions, and then we'll jump into a game. This one from @myselfjonas. Are you planning to have maps for more players than 5v5? Has the thought of changing that number up a little bit across you guys?
It's definitely come across our minds a couple of times. We've had discussions about it. We don't have any maps built that way now, and we have nothing, as I said earlier, nothing on the Battlegrounds in the works that way, but I think it's a really cool idea, and I think we'll probably explore it down the road.
And if we don't do it, you guys hopefully will be able to do it with the map editor yourselves.
Totally.
Okay. This one from @Andre55516721. Hopefully that's not your phone number, because you might be getting calls. How much effort will you put into skins? Will there be different spell animations for maybe Mercablo?
I don't know about Mercablo. I know we're going to do this for some skins for sure.
Definitely.
I just don't know if Mercablo is on the list to get new ones or not.
Yeah, like skins are pretty kind of organic and passion-fueled endeavor for us. I think like a lot of the times there are just artists who really have a cool idea and really want to see it come to fruition, and they make a fun, cool skin. And where we go from there is kind of like the result of the way people rally behind that and how excited they are about various things they want to do to it. So I fully expect us to do some skins where the voices change entirely, the effects change. We absolutely will go that, and we'll run the gamut from some pretty basic skin changes all the way up to just some pretty intense ones where everything's different and it's a completely different character visually and sound-wise. And
And all these skins are just absolutely work of passion to these art guys. I mean, the art team is really just doing what they want as far as these skins. I think Kay and I are continually surprised. We just go in and go, oh, okay, let's do that, right? Like it's just, and it's already done, And so these guys are just working really hard at things that excite them, that geek them up, that make them laugh. And they're just putting it in the game. And that's what's one of the things I love about this game so much is we just get to sort of unleash our art stuff upon the world. Like these guys are doing such amazing work, and we just get to sort of put it out there and let them just kind of do what they want, and it works, and it's totally fine. And we don't have to say, it's not the way the Zerg look. You know what I mean? We don't have to do any of that. We can just let them go, and they're doing just amazing stuff, really fun stuff.
Very true. Okay, guys, last question from @WarlockGod. I really enjoy WoW Battlegrounds. However, MOBAs never stuck with me. Will Heroes be able to bridge that gap?
Yes.
Good answer, Dustin.
I hope so. We're going to do everything we can to make a game that appeals to as many people as possible. And we've certainly heard internally from a lot of players who said, I never really got into the MOBA genre. They are enjoying what we've built. But this is an internal group, right? These are obviously people who work in the studio. They're invested in our characters. They're invested in Blizzard as a whole. And so I can't say for sure, but our goal is to make a game obviously that has a broad appeal as it possibly can. And we're doing everything we can to make that possible for our players.
All right, great. Well, guys, thank you. Thank you, community, for your questions. We are going to start transitioning over into our live gameplay session right now. But before we do that, let's take a look at our straw poll. You can probably see it on your screen right now. It looks like the winner is Haunted Minds. That's right. We're going to be playing on that one. So before we do that, we would like to bring our special guest, shoutcaster, personality, internet, mastermind, Mr. Sean Day9Plot.
I have this nice spot on my knees.
What's up, Sean?
Between you guys, it's so good to see you.
Sean, how much have you played Heroes of the Storm?
I've played a game.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I've played exactly one.
Okay.
It was on the tribute map.
Okay.
And I've seen Haunted Minds.
That's
and
good.
those are the things that I know. So I get to play the role of complete and utter newbie.
Okay, so real question, how much have you casted Heroes of the Storm?
I have not casted Heroes of the Storm.
Dude, I thought you were like a professional.
No, I mean, I'm a professional. If you want to provide me any early access to the game, I totally understand that.
Okay, okay.
I would much appreciate that. Right. But yeah, I know I'm going into this fairly blind, so I think Dustin will cast, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do it live. Sounds good. Let's just do this live. All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a couple minutes to get set up for our gameplay session. So don't go anywhere. Definitely tell your friends to tune in and jump on social media, let them know, catch what we're doing. In general, if you would like to follow us in the social media space, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we're everywhere with the moniker Blizz Heroes. So just go check us out, follow us, give us a like, subscribe. Many thanks to you guys for being here. You guys are not going to see KO or myself. You won't even hear our voices in the gameplay session. Actually, we might hoot and holler a little bit, but you will be hearing from these guys. So stick around. We'll talk to you soon. High fives?
High five.
Oh, are we doing it together like a little league team? Dustin. Now, this is my first time
I understand.
ever
I get it.
getting to cast.
It's going to be good.
You know, we were just talking about in the Q&A that the only experience I've had with Heroes of the Storm is on the original tribute map.
Oh yeah, this is a very different
And
map.
I've only seen this on BlizzCon, so I
All
know
right,
a little
so let's see
bit
what we
about
got
it.
here. On the left-hand side, we've got the blue team with Sergeant Hammer, Tyrael, Nova, Tyrande, and Chef Stitches, all ready for action there. Let's take a look at the right-hand side of the map. We've got Red playing as Chieftain and Malfurion, our druid there, and they are absolutely... I'd like to point out to everybody, this is an alpha version of this game. This is a live whole time living in fear of something horribly, horribly wrong going here in this... Can towards that beta, but we do not have a date to announce yet. We will get it out to you guys just as soon as we can. So you see the game is reasonably far along, so our biggest concern at this point is making sure that our technology is in position, that we can handle the load of the number of players who are interested. The app is controlling the areas around the mines. And you see these players lining up to do that right now. We got Malfurion, we've got Wish in the shadows. I think Blue's got the advantage in the bottom position. Oh, Arthas gets holding range of the towers. He's getting a little bit of trouble right there. ETC comes in to try to bail him out. It looks like Tyrande's going to pay for this pull, and down she goes, Red with first blood, even though it was Blue team that got the hook. We're having a little mic difficulty here with Sean right now, so he's being suspiciously quiet, but I think he might be back in action right now.
It's all right. No, I just need the microphone stabilized. That's all I need. It's fallen off my face, but guess what? I'm observant, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at. I'm going to be asking questions. I mean, I'm not going to just stand over here at some point. I'm not.
That would not be great.
I am no Bronze League observer, but I mean, we're seeing a lot of like, you know, the usual mechanics of, you know, the MOBA genre, but like for me, I have very limited experience in the genre and MOBA games in general. So, you know, I'm familiar with some of the basic roles, but like, this is not the usual 3-lane map.
No, this is our 2-lane map, and this is because we have so much space in the Haunted Mines, which are going to open up here in just a little bit. What everybody's doing right now is they're fighting for position and trying to get off some early advantage. They can get a level difference at this point. So you want to have a level advantage if you can swing it. And Blue is in a little bit of trouble right here, down on those levels. And now they just caught up again. So it's not much of an advantage Red has got. In addition to that level advantage, you want to get the positional advantage. If you can push back these minions into these towers and really sort of gain control of the area around the mines, you'll be in a position to get down into the mines and prevent the enemy from doing it at all, or certainly delaying their arrival into the mines, which again will earn your team the benefits of the mines. We'll see those come online. For those of you who haven't seen this game or know what I'm talking about, I suppose you should discuss it. When you get down into the mines, you'll see these mines will open up, and when you go below, you collect skulls. And when all the skulls are collected, a grave golem will be built by both teams, and how many skulls you've collected will determine how big your grave golem is. So the more skulls, the bigger your grave golem, and that grave golem will push. Whoa, big hook there on ETC. It's a little bit of trouble. He's trying to get out of there. I think Nova drops him. Well done by Nova. And it looks like Tyrande might pay again. Oh, Daybringer just gets away. Daybringer is Brett, one of our balance laners. Really strong player. Watch him do very well with that character as the game progresses.
All right, so right now it looks like they're trying to maintain control of this. Like, how does the strategy work with trying to go into the mines?
So you're watching, it's just about to happen even now. We're just there, the mine has just opened up and the units have spawned. So now, if you go down, you'll see them cross over here in a minute. Tyrande
in lower lanes, or
they
is it
are getting
literally
experience
just,
on their well,
okay.
but remember, it's shared team experience, so you need someone at each location where experience points is being generated, and then your team will get access to that.
Single heroes in the mines. I mean, is this pretty standard? I mean, I know that this is the big
Game as the heroes go up in levels and the mercenaries become a bigger part of the
and they're pushing really hard up on the top. I mean, there's only really one blue hero down in the south lane.
Yeah, so red is sort of lost out on the mines. They knew they didn't get the lion's share, so they left blue to clean up down there. And while blue was cleaning up, red tried to get something done. And so they went back and they got themselves a mercenary camp there, and now they're pushing hard against these lanes, trying to gain some kind of advantage from their defeat in the mines. Obviously, those golems are going to come up, and it's got 64 golems to 36, so blue has the golem advantage. But honestly, at this point, that was a little bit of a fairly even exchange. I like the golem advantage for blue. But I think red did manage to get some stuff done down here. They've really pushed that top tower. They've got some minions down here. There's some of these siege giants that, if they're protected, which they need to protect them right now, might be able to do a significant amount of damage to that base as well that way. And you can see in the kills up there, they are struggling a little bit on the kills at 8-3 in favor of blue.
Okay, so walk me through a little bit of some of the more basic mechanics, because I mean, every MOBA game has its rules about how experience sharing works, about where the big chunks of experience are. Actually, maybe we should wait because the columns are on the field.
Pretty significant. So that golem is just going to charge those towns. He's just going to honey badger his way forward and smash everything he possibly can that gets in his way. And so you can see he's going to blast his way through these towns, and a big team fight's going to develop right here. We got a bunch of battling going on here. At the same time, those siege giants are moving to engage as well. So this is a big advantage right there for blue in that top lane. In the bottom lane, you can see how much smaller the Grave Golem is for red. And quickly, Tyrande, their Daybringer, is going to drop that Grave Golem and really end that threat. While up top, this is going to likely crack this front gate. Man, the blue is not really protecting this Golem very effectively. So it looks like red's going to take this down.
Well, I mean, how much should a team be focusing on protecting his own golem versus destroying the enemy team's golem? Like, what are
really
the
depends on the scenario, depends on the characters you have in play. It depends how much damage your team has taken in that area of the map already. At this stage, you can really make some choices. Later in the game, sometimes the golem will really force your hand. You can see a big team fight is developing up here in top lane. The carnage is everywhere, and it looks like blue is once again, well, I don't know, they're backing up. I thought they were in good position there based on the damage, but they're all pretty wounded. And with that ultimate cast by Malfurion, all of those healing is really kept in this game. Malfurion gets hooked by Stitches, immediate support coming from everybody around him. Stitches in a lot of trouble right there. Starfall coming from Tyrande doing a lot of damage as well. ETC trying to get off his ultimate, doesn't really catch anybody in it. And blue and red, he both lose a hero in the resulting battle. And blue getting absolutely hammered. So earlier on, it looked like blue was doing very well in the team fights. And you can see the kills are starting to even up. But now at 10 kills for blue and 7 kills from red. From previously, they were down like by 5 or 6 kills.
You know, a lot of these abilities is the first time I've ever seen them, but of course, having played a lot of Warcraft 3, you know, being a big strategy gamer, I recognize a lot of them just based on the art. I mean, how often are those assets? How important is that for it to, you know, to connect back to the previous franchises?
They've so changed over the years that we can't use exactly the same assets. We're using the same visual clues so that you can have that recognition between different heroes. So if you've seen a Starfall from a Warcraft 3 hero or whatever, you have a chance to recognize that when you get into the game as well. And obviously, we're trying to make as much of those connections as we can. That's Chef Stitches on the back of a unicorn. Sort of
some kind of Nyan Cat entry.
Yeah, exactly. Just one of our classic moments here in Heroes. It looks like Blue's getting a little frisky here. Red wants some more payback. They've got Stitches and Tyrael. He's under the mines for Tyrael. He knows he's in trouble. He's surrounded by 4 heroes. He says, the heck with it. Draw them away from the enemy. I'll be in a happy place. So he manages to get out of what was certain death by using the mines. A really clever use of that. Red clustered here very well. It looks like Malfurion's in a little trouble. Down he goes from a severe, pushing these guys all the way around.
Looks like Tyrael gets caught down in the mines, but just makes sure to fend it off. I mean, we're seeing it looks like the red team stay together most of the time. I mean, typically we see in most MOBAs. I mean, how fast are we? How far into the game are we at this point? Like just
I think we're
8, 10
probably,
minutes or so?
yeah, something like that. We used to have a clock, but we don't have it working in observer mode right now. But we're still very early in this game. The whole thing will probably be over by 20 to 25 minutes at the outside. I've had like one 35-minute game in Internal Alpha, but it's extremely rare.
Yeah.
So the games are very, very quick. Oh, wow, that's a lot of trouble for Toronto right there. She's getting protected by Tyrael with that shield, but you see those 2 tanks really want some blood off it. There goes the Starfall. Down she goes. Here comes ETC into the fight
One
as well.
star fell. You know, I mean, but we're seeing so many more team fights than what you'd typically see in almost any other existing MOBA. I mean, obviously on a 2-lane map, it's much
it
easier
really
to
depends on
rejoin
the map.
together.
So we're not going to be able to play on it today because it's still back under construction. You see the mines are open again. There's a lot of action going on here. If you're looking at a map like Dragonshire, where you need to control all 3 lanes simultaneously to get the benefit of the map mechanic, you see a lot fewer team fights. You see the players really splitting up, and that's the point of that
this
map.
is the perm cloaking that you were telling me about.
Cloak. So he didn't really notice it was coming. It was difficult to see in the mines, and he's really going to pay. Nice dancing by Gnome. He's one of our balance designers. Very good. That's Matt Cooper. You may remember from his famous days on StarCraft. And down he goes. Just a little bit of trouble right there. That's not the battle engagement he wanted to have right there. And this is a critical time for them to lose him. He's one of the stronger players. And he can be very effective down there in the mines. You can see the skull counts very even on both these players right now. And as in the mines, you can see there is some gathering of players. Blue has got position right there on that final golem to get the bulk of the skulls. But red is starting to stream in a little bit here. So I don't know if control of that boss is very clear at this point. Red now with significant advantage in the mines, 3 players to 2 down in the mines.
And now all of blue dropped down to the mines, and it seemed like, I mean, is their strategy here the fact that they've lost these 2, this set of towers and forts up at the north end to try to make up for it by getting a huge golem?
Yeah, they're going to want to get the biggest golem they can possibly get at this point to really push. And they're moving in here. Is it just Stitches? It is. The minimap, we actually need to make this minimap larger. It's very difficult for Sean and I to tell what's going on in the game. This is one of the feedback we've had from an internal alpha, and I'm sure you guys at home would say the same thing. It's difficult to see what's happening on that minimap, but it looks like Stitches, is he going to try to solo that? It looks like he is. There's a team fight developing up, and Stitches has the ability with his Devour to really get a lot of health back from an enemy unit, but I don't think he's got the firepower to necessarily engage a fully functional golem like that. Maybe he'll get some support a little bit later on. Looks like Witch Doctor in a little bit of trouble here, taking a little bit of beating from Sergeant Ember. Oh, there's the long-range shot from Toronto, just narrowly misses, and Tyrael gets the kill. ETC came for the rescue, and now in a little bit of trouble, but ETC is pretty mobile. I expect him to get out of there safely. Let's see what's going on down in the mines with Stitches. He's still dancing with this Grey Golem, making it work, dodging all those abilities, really struggling. This is a long time for Stitches to be out of action, but you know what? He's managed to pull it off and get a solo kill in that Golem. That's a huge, huge benefit for the team, even though it did take him out of action for a long period of time. Look at all those skulls.
Yeah,
huge.
As the golems are summoning, walk me through a little bit of like how the XP sharing works. We asked that like right as they were summoning last time.
Yeah. So what happens is every time you get EXP, you get EXP for the team, which goes in towards your team level. So you really want to try to have people everywhere on the map that EXP can be earned. You want to have at least one person in every lane, if you can manage it. And you want to have some people maybe going out and grabbing some of the mercenary camps, whatever, to get some additional XP. But one person each lane is sort of the minimum requirement in order to make it function.
Yeah.
Obviously, when the team fights are happening, it's not worth it to keep one person each lane. It's just too dangerous. There's the Grave Golem popping up. There's ultimates firing off everywhere at this point. Absolute beating going down on both teams. Nobody quite dropped yet, but Blue in a lot of trouble. Look at all those engine heroes running for their lives. There goes somebody. 2 heroes down at this point. Man, it's just a bloodbath as that Grave Golem. I think he's going to drop that thing very successfully at this point. There's a little tiny Grave Golem over here. He's going to do some damage, and I think he will drop that town as well, but that town was in a lot worse shape than this top town is.
So, I mean, the Grave Golem is just for pushing these towers. They don't actually ever engage other heroes.
They put some area effects around them that can hurt other heroes pretty significantly, but no. Their primary focus is the towers. They will just sort of charge the nearest tower and start beating on it as fast as they can.
I also got really excited when I found the StarCraft Observer button still worked.
Oh God,
oh
please don't
yeah.
crash. I'm just living in fear. Whenever
that's
Sean hits
so
another
good.
button, I just die a little bit more inside. I'm like, oh, I hope it
my
doesn't go
goal.
down on us.
You know, I really feel like my purpose here in this cast is to be as dumb as possible. Like, what are these buttons doing? Just rake the keyboard.
I lose years off of my life from this one shoutcast.
So, I mean, like, this is also a mechanic I'm unfamiliar with. The idea of you kill these and
Yeah.
then they join in
Yeah,
on
and they
pushing
join
the
in on
lanes.
your side. So all of our, the game is very team focused. So everything you're doing in the jungle, everything you're doing in the lanes for the most part, is focused on trying to help your team achieve victory. There's not a lot of sort of selfish things that you can do in this game where you're trying to do things to make yourself more powerful. You're always trying to do things that help your team win the game. So you want to focus on teamwork, focus on what your group needs to be effective. And so it can be a very strategic game in the sense if you do the wrong thing at the wrong time, you may not be helping your team at all. You may be wasting valuable, precious time. 1/5 of your team may be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we found that communication on these teams is really, really important. And the teams, you really want to group up with your friends to play this game. It's the most powerful way to enjoy the experience. There's
Well, it looks
ETC
like
leaping into battle.
Every single red hero just lined up. Starfall, I can recognize that from a mile away, doing some work in mid.
Yeah, this is absolutely going to be a huge, huge team fight at this point. And as Red, you can see Red's got all these mercenaries pushing. And they're taking an absolute bloodbath here in the middle. It looks like it's fairly even on kills. There's 2 down now for Blue. Red doing very well. Malfurion in a lot of trouble. There goes Malfurion down as well. You can see at the top left and right side of the screens the pictures of all of the heroes with their timers, death timers up as well. So it is 3 on 3 right now, but it looks like it's about to
Soon
be
to be
3
2 on 2.
Yeah, exactly. As another hero goes down, and Blue in a little bit of trouble. Look at those mercenaries pressing in. Remember, early in the game, it didn't look like I was feeling a little bit worried about Red. They were losing. They lost that first team fight. They lost that first Grave Bomb, and now they are right back in this, really knocking on the front door in both lanes.
I mean, it almost seems like a whack-a-mole. I mean, it's not just centered around the team fight, because it looked like Red took actually accurate.
Yeah,
or-
absolutely accurate. The strategy is so important in this game. Where to go, and there's a lot of middle off a surprise victory. You can often get into a position where the enemy didn't expect you and do something they weren't prepared for. It looks like Gazzo's a little bit of trouble there. Down he goes. Here comes ETC jumping in to try to help Arthas get out of there. It looks like Witch Doctor was trying to make it in, but she was a little late as well, and so they're forced to pull back. And now we've got Mine spawning again. Now this is it, guys. This is the critical battle. Blue has lost the paint job on their front towers. Red has still got their bottom tower, but their top tower is gone, and this Grave Golem could be the absolutely determining battle. Red sending a bunch of guys to the mines. They are committed. They believe the mines is the way to go to win this game, and I'm not sure that they're wrong. Blue is only, it looks like, only got Nova in the mines to me. Blue a little indecisive here about what they're doing. Really a watchtower? I don't think that's really as important at this point as everything else that's going on. And it looks like Blue's going to lose Nova as well. So now they're down a hero for what I would think is the critical battle of this match to determine who wins this game. And Blue sending some more people into the mines. This engagement in the mines, if and when it comes, is probably going to be the deciding point for this game.
I mean, I see what we're talking about with the importance of keeping the team together. We see Blue getting a little spread out here, or now some of the red heroes getting a little spread out and getting punished so quickly for it.
There's Witch Doctor using his ultimate of Starfort, pounding away. Arthas trying to get some work done here. He's in a little bit of trouble. He does manage to chase off those 3 heroes. Incredible. Just want to take a beating from Arthas. I guess when he popped his ultimate, they just didn't feel safe. Red still down here in force, a little beat up from the battle. Blue down 2. But they know they got the advantage now, so let's make use of it.
So, in a lot of the other MOBAs, even though the heroes are very different from each other, there's a lot of those tenets that sort of... I'm wondering what, like, some of the general cooldowns are on the abilities, because that'll obviously dictate how often you can engage in battle if ultimates recharge
It
quickly
depends
or
on
not.
the ultimates. We have more ultimates as we go forward. Some of the ultimates are very spammable. Some of the ultimates might be even a 10 or 15 second cooldown, but in many cases they're more like a 60 to 70.
General
Well,
sense,
but
but-
given a 20-minute game, right? You
Yeah.
still got to pick your moments. You're gonna get to do it maybe 8 times at critical moments over the course of the game, maybe sometimes 6. And there's Gnome, it's Matt Cooper, our balance designer. They're picking off some.
Oh God, 5 to 75.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. The red has got serious advantage. This is going to be really difficult for Blue. Now Blue has grabbed a mercenary mechanic, and they want to try to get some work done here.
I mean, like, what hope does Blue have in this position? Because I mean,
It
this is
really
the second
depends on
time
the
I've
next
ever seen
team
this,
fight,
yeah.
right? We had a little bit of a burp there. I'm glad it didn't crash. I almost died there for a moment. It really depends on the next team fight and what happens. Obviously, Red's in a clear situation of advantage. They've done any move you're going to see from Blue at this point is going to be a little bit desperate. They're going to have to do some crazy strategies, like just kind of ignore what's going on in the lanes, try to get as many mercenaries as possible. We've seen strategies involving on other maps, critical hideout near the enemy base, wait for them to go to yours, and then just charge in as fast as you can and see if you can get some damage done. But I think you're going to see, if Blue's going to pull it out at this point, it's going to be an act of desperation, or they're going to get clever and they're going to win this next team battle. It's that sad, sad little golem charges into battle there. I think you may be able to drop that tower. This is the critical golem. It's freaking huge. Drop this thing before it's too late. Red really trying to, I don't know if I quite like this move. We'll see how it pays off for them. They're going to grab a mercenary camp here in the middle and try to push for it, but I think their timing was a little bit off. I think they really wanted to be support of that golem, and I think they would have won at this point. But they chose instead to grab the mercenary camp. I think by the time those mercenaries show up, that tower is going to be dead, but you're also going to see that their golem is going to be gone. Now, both teams are level 20, I believe, at this point. This is abilities, and they're incredibly powerful, and it's a break point in the talent tree. So you'll see players, when you cross that break point, try to get something done in the few seconds or minute they might have. We do up to 25, but there is that break point is absolutely critical. And Red's just trying to get the mercenary camp so they can hopefully win this game with a big push. And it looks like the teams are even, the kills are fairly close. It's just so much damage has been done to Blue's base at this point, and they didn't manage to, Red did not get anything done with that Grave Golem. If they want it, there's Warfield, or Sergeant Hammer moving forward, trying to engage. Everybody's looking for the right angle. Stitch is trying to get a little frisky there. ETC charging in. He takes quite a beating for it, but there's enough support in here. I don't think it's really going to matter. Arthas really up front, closing in on Tehran and just get the hit off. It looks like there's a great ultimate being used there to chase off Tyrande, and down goes Tyrande as well, killed by the Witch Doctor. There is a triple tap. Down goes ETC as well. 2 heroes down now for Red. Blue in a pretty good position at this point. They are a little beat up. There's a great hook, and it looks like in a lot of trouble. Uses his ice block to survive, but he's not going to get him out in time. There's nobody to come to help. And that was the engagement we were talking about. That's exactly what needed to happen. They needed not to lose too many heroes here. They're down 2. They don't want to lose any more trying to pick off this one hero.
Yeah, so, I mean, if we relate what just happened back to the mechanics of the map, it seemed like Red had a really huge opportunity with the Golem that once upon a time was here, but they abandoned it to do a huge minion push in this top lane with all 5 heroes. Now, what is it that won Team Blue in that fight? Was it just positioning? Is it the fact that the tower was also there, or is it just general?
The tower was a huge advantage, no question. The towers and the minions were definitely to their advantage. Whenever you're fighting in somebody's base, you're always going to be a little bit weaker than you were otherwise. And so they had that position, and they used it. I think their engagements were solid. I think they picked off the right heroes at the right time, and they managed to get done what they needed to get done. Now, here's the danger, right? Now, they've got 3 wounded heroes closing in. I'm not sure what they're going to try to accomplish here. I mean, obviously, they're tough enough at this point that the towns aren't super dangerous to them, and they're going to try to push through this base. But Red is respawning, right? They're right back in. Now, Sergeant Hammer there can do some damage. Here comes ETC, and to just wreck their day. I think they're going to lose a few critical heroes here. Stitches getting absolutely crushed Devour off there. ETC in a little bit of trouble, and there's too many Red is running for his life. There's a big blast from Gazlo, who drops him. Wonderfully done. He does have his storm power, so he will resurrect immediately, but he can't do that again very quickly. Blue is getting beat on back in their base right now. We can hear it through the audio as they're battling it out here in the top lane. Honestly, I thought they won that opportunity to make a little bit more of that temporary advantage. They had all 5 Red heroes down. Admittedly, 3 of them were pretty beat up at the time, but I was hoping they could get more done with that. Now they're right back kind of where they're at, with Red back in the game, still with the advantage in the lanes, still with a not with it right next to the core. And here goes Red, finally coming in and pushing out that castle they wanted to kill in that first attack.
So right now the Haunted Mines are open, but it looks like Red has just decided we're going to abandon that.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity that we feel like we had before.
Yeah, but you can see the area effect from that ability is so significant. The core is absolutely taking a beating. The heroes do so much damage at this point in the game. You really need to control the area under base. I don't think there's anything
firing it
they
right
can
now,
do.
and there it
just
is.
right-click core, and that is GG, the end. Well done, Team Red. Blue, you had a chance for a minute, and you made it glorious and great, but in the end, Red pulls it out.
Yeah, I mean, like, now, in terms of local strategy versus global strategy, describe, like, how Red played in that game. How do you describe games with these, like, really unusual maps? Do you say, like, oh, they're doing a very Grave Golem-focused strategy?
I think that would be a legitimate way to describe it. Honestly, we need more guys like you in a chance with the build
to make words up.
To make words up and tell us how this works. We didn't make up how StarCraft was cast, right? That was made up by our community, right?
But I mean, like, is this game more about fluid, on-the-fly decisions, or do you see compositions constructed to specifically go for the Grave Golem?
Not yet, we don't. But you can probably expect down the road that you will, right? We just don't know. We haven't had that breadth of play. But right now, it's very fluid. It's very much about reading the board, knowing who's alive and who's not, what powers do we have in play, and making the right sort of judgment call as to where to proceed. So it's a very fluid, very creative strategic experience right now. Obviously, as the community studies the game more, I think you'll see a more intense experience where it's more known, it's more math-based, it's more understood. But right now, it's very fluid and very intuitive.
Now, I hope I wasn't making this up, but it seemed like the Team Red's abilities were generally a little bit more red-hued, and the Blue Team's abilities were a little bit more blue-hued.
I don't know if we have a ton of that, and we have some of that going on right now. And we need to work on the clarity, obviously, a lot more. I mean, obviously, you may have been looking at that and going, oh, I hope Dustin knows what he's talking about. Because right now, there is a lot of noise going on that screen. And that's
well, I'm not going to make up what the abilities are, but if you want me to do, I totally can.
But there's a lot of noise in the abilities right now, and this is something we're continuing to work on going forward, trying to make the game as clean and readable as possible.
Awesome.
Well, hey, thanks for casting this day. That was an absolute blast.
It was a pleasure to do my first ever Here's the Stormcast with you, Dustin, because you know everything that actually happens in the game because you made it.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching us today. We hope you enjoyed this cast, and we will bring you many, many more to come in the weeks and months coming forward.
Thank you. Cheers.